We're going to be using this piece of wood and this old busted mirror, and we're going to show you how to make this look like Chippy Salvage and frame out our mirror. So the first step is we're going to be using dark and decrepit. We actually watered this down a little bit because there wasn't much left in it, and because it's water-based, you can totally do that. So I'm just going to brush a coat on. I'm not worried about perfection because we're going to be layering like 50 million coats on. We'll let it dry for about 15 minutes. And then the next step is going to be spraying it with lacquer so that we get some resistance when we put our paint on it.
I picked this piece of wood up in the coal lumber. It had a big chip out of it, so it was 70% off. Which is nice because Jami doesn't really like the vine on there anyway, so hopefully that'll go away as we add layers.
We'll see if it's good or if it's bad. I think it'll be good. I can make anything 80s look good.
The next step is to spray over the dark and decrepit. We're going to be using lacquer. This is about $3.80, I believe, down at the Home Depot. And you can use shellac to do this, but you're going to get more resist with the lacquer. Make sure you got your respirator on. Okay, so I'm outside. You can see I've got snow and things off the sidewalk here. Not a big deal, not worried about the temperature. If I get crackling and chipping from the cold weather, all the better. You can see how it's kind of shiny here now. That's what we want. If it's summertime and warmer weather, you're gonna probably want to do 2 coats of this so that you get a nice resist. What we want to achieve is have a surface that the paint will actually not stick to as well as it normally would. Alright, so I got my dad here. He's in town to watch the kids with my mom while we go to Hawaii next week. And we are cutting this glass down. We already got a bunch of it cut, but we got a little bit of a jagged edge, and he says he knows how to fix that, so I'm gonna let him. Alright, so ideally you want a nice straight cut like we got here. We weren't pressing hard enough on this one on the initial pass, and that's why it's all jagged. So keep the good even pressure, all one run is how you want to do that. Now we're going to go ahead and sand it smooth. He's got the gloves on, so he's going to do that.
For this next step, I'm literally going to glop the paint on in no fashion using DIY paint, mint chip, old 57, and petticoat pink, all of which you can get at jamirayvintage.com. And I'm gonna just put it on here, and then before letting it dry, we're gonna get the blow dryer out and blow dry it to create some crackle and texture because the clay will crack when it's clumpy. I chose these colors because they're bright and fun, and a lot of old houses had similar colors when I found salvage wood. And I'd like for them to kind of peek through.
Surprisingly, we find lots of pinks.
And mint. Like this color mint is all over in salvage. Okay, so that's the last of this anyways. Okay, now I'm gonna come back with old 57. And mind you, I'm not blending, really. I'm just layering it on here in no particular fashion. Just kind of gloppy. Next, pink. And some of this will get sanded down.
What you'll find on a lot of old paint jobs in salvage is lots of drips because the paint they used ran like crazy apparently.
So neatness is not required. It's like they didn't really care if the job was perfect. Some of it's some kid decided to paint their room while their mom was gone.
Alright, so I know in a video recently I told you not to use the blow dryer because you can get crackle and chipping and burn the paint and things if you're not careful. That's what we're going for. That's what we want. So you can see where Jami glopped it on here real thick. We're getting some crackle in there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take some 80 grit sandpaper, knock off some of these high spots so it doesn't look so unnatural, and then we are going to shellac again so that when we put the milk paint on, there's some resist. Alright, so I particularly want to work on this spot here where we've got like this big glop and then the transition to the pink. Smoothing it out so it's not a real hard transition there.
So we've got flour sack, Sweet Pickens milk paint mixed up here with no extra bond. We've got a whole playlist on milk paint, so if you want to know how to mix it or all the ins and outs of milk paint, we'll drop that link below. And we made it kind of thick so that way we could get one coat coverage. And we're just going to brush this on top of the paint that we already have in the shellac.
We're going to go ahead and use the blow dryer on the milk paint as well, hopefully getting even more chipping and crackle.
So I'm going to be using 80 grit sandpaper. I'm going to go remove all the loose chippiness and we'll see where we're at. We might add another coat or we might be done. I'm not sure. All right, so this is why we used lacquer and why we used the dark and decrepit, because the dark and decrepit actually soaked down into the wood and then it chipped back to that stained color there, as opposed to chipping back to the light wood. All right, so you can see that there's big chunky chips missing out of it, because one of the things about Salvage is it's always like layers and layers of ooey gooey yumminess, and it turned out awesome. We're gonna turn it into a frame, and then we're gonna add some clear wax and black wax to hopefully enhance all the crackle and age.
All right, so I'm going to cut some 45s to the appropriate length so that they fit over the mirror, and then I'll put a backer on it and we'll be done. Just a little glue here, then I will nail together the outside edges here on the miter, right here and right here, and then on the inside, on the back, I'll run a backer, little piece of board around that so that it's sturdy.
So I'm gonna put a layer of clear wax over the whole piece before I put the dark wax. That will keep it from absorbing too much into my paint, because milk paint, chalk paint, clay paint, it's all very porous. So if you don't put a barrier, you're gonna get very dirty paint and you'll lose some of the color variations. So I'm just gonna put a nice thick, generous coat. Now I'm gonna come back with a different wax brush. If you want to use the same one, that's fine, but you'll need to wash it really well. So I keep one just for black and dark waxes. I'm gonna dip it into the black and I'm just gonna hit a few spots. I don't wanna hit the whole thing because I don't want it to be dirty looking. I've got a lint-free rag here and I'm just going to buff this wax in. I haven't waited in between steps. I'm immediately buffing this and wiping that black wax off. Okay, so I've decided I want a little bit more black there. You can see that it really makes those cracks stand out.
It's time to place the mirror, and I'm just gonna set it right here on the back of this wood. You can see the contrast from what we started with to the front. I forgot what it looked like when we started, so I didn't leave myself a ton of room. I'm just gonna put a bead of hot glue kind of around the mirror. This will keep it from shifting when I've got my backer on there.
Zep's been wanting to do this for a really long time. I was skeptical, not because I didn't think we could do it, but because I was like, that's gonna take a hot minute. But I think that the blow dryer really sped up the process, and if you were working on a bunch of boards at once, you could do a bunch of stuff, knock it out, and then as you need it to build, you would have all that chippy salvage. You get all the chippy look without all the lead paint.
Yes.
Plus bonus. And I also think you could do this look on a piece of furniture.
Yes, I would like to try building something. So if you would like to see us build something and do a finish like this, comment below.
And comment with what you'd like to see us do. We'll take that into consideration with some of our future videos. Here's a rundown of what we used. If you go to jamirayvintage.com, you can get the Dark and Decrepit, which is a stain and sealer all-in-one, water-based, awesome. And then you can use the Mint Chip, Old 57, and Petticoat Pink, all by DIY Paint. We sell those. And then the last paint color that we used was Flour Sack by Milk Paint. And the trick is you want to glop it on there and make it a little bit thicker than it calls for, and then you get one coat coverage really well. We use spray lacquer that we don't carry on our website, but we'll throw a link below in case you don't have a hardware store close. And then we sealed it and finished it all with DIY clear wax and DIY black wax.
We'd love it if you'd share this video with all your Chippy Salvage junk loving friends. We love going and tearing down old buildings and helping take some of that history and carrying it on to other projects and pieces, but if you can't do that, if you're not able to, this is a fun way to get a similar look without going to all that extra work.
Also, you can do it to as little or as much as you need, which is nice.
Yeah.
If you like this video, be sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to Jami Ray Vintage for more
DIY.